Under the 2020 version of DOD Instruction 1300.28, transgender personnel in the United States military were denied equal opportunity to serve or enlist in the United States military, except if they served in their original sex assignment, had been grandfathered in prior to April 12, 2019, or were given a waiver. This memorandum, originally scheduled to expire on March 12, 2020, was extended until September 12, 2020. Before it expired, it was replaced by a reissued version of DOD Instruction 1300.28. Military service by transgender persons and persons with gender dysphoria, which took effect on September 4, 2020. President Joe Biden repealed Trump's 2018 memo through his executive order signed on January 25, 2021. Many women during the American Civil War disguised themselves as men to enlist as soldiers and fight in the war. During this time, women were not legally allowed to fight. However, it is estimated there were more than 400 women who were passing as male soldiers during the war. Many of these female soldiers' true identities were never discovered throughout the time of their service, as a result of many of those who fought in the war being citizen soldiers who had no prior military or combat training. Men and women learned how to become a soldier in the same way. This gave women an advantage to learn how to be a good soldier at the same speed the men were learning, while also helping to keep their identity a secret. There were instances, though, of soldiers being exposed of their true female identities, usually after having been hurt and sent to a soldier's hospital. Most often, these women just received medical attention and were sent home. However, in several instances, some women who had been disguised as male soldiers were punished or even imprisoned. Albert Cashier, who was born Jenny Irene Hodges in Belvidere, Illinois, on August 6, 1862, enlisted and served in the Union Army as a man. His identity remained unknown throughout the entirety of his service, and he kept the identity of Albert Cashier for the remainder of his life. It wasn't until 1911, while working as a handyman, that he was struck by an automobile and fractured his leg. When a physician was called, it was discovered that Albert was in fact born a woman. Shortly after his injury, he was admitted into the Soldiers and Sailors' Home in Quincy, Illinois, where in his application he gave his real name as Jenny Hodges, and stated that he was born in Ireland on December 25, 1844. At the home, only the doctor knew of his true identity, and he was able to continue to live as Albert Cashier, along with other patients in the home. When his mental health became too deteriorated for the home to adequately take care of him, he was sent to an insane asylum at Watertown. At the asylum, Albert was forced to wear dresses and accept the identity he was born with, Jenny Hodges, until his passing in 1915. Albert Cashier was buried with full military honors. The first transgender American woman to undergo gender confirmation surgery was Christine Jorgensen, who had previously been drafted into the United States Army to serve during World War II. The surgery made front-page news with headlines such as "Ex-Guy becomes blonde beauty," focusing on her prior military service. According to scholars, since at least as early as 1960, Executive Order 10450 was applied to ban transgender individuals from serving in the United States military. On May 17, 1963, gender transitioned or transitioning individuals were officially prohibited from the United States military by Army Regulation 42-501. This policy reasoned transgender people were medically unqualified to serve because their mental state was considered unfit. For it wasn't until the 1980s, when the United States military decided to apply medical regulations more forcefully on those who identified as transgender. Medical care provided by the military did not cover hormone therapy and gender reassignment surgery. The psychological services weren't much better. If the topic of trans-related issues arises, then confidentiality is usually breached and notified to commands for further action. If a person were to go through with a gender modification of some sort, they'd be discharged or rejected from enlistment. Some people have disagreed with these regulations and have taken the policy to court. In the case Doe v. Alexander, the Army defends their policy of denying enlistment to transsexual persons by stating that supporting transsexuals would raise a medical problem. The necessity of having hormone supplementation may not be available at certain placements this individual is placed. Another case of Leyland v. Orr, where Air Force member Leyland underwent a gender reassignment surgery before being discharged. The courts ruled this as valid due to the reasoning that Leyland was indeed unfit physically rather than mentally. This judgment was determined by inferring that genital surgery is similar to an ampute.